Book 3, Alistair. 12th of the Red Sun, AC, year 1833, Oricea, Valorous Idris. A gentle breeze casually moves across the clear sky and upon one of the many ivory towers that line the city. A brilliant ray from the sun reflects down to the streets below, where crowds of people walk and bells of the church echo through the air, signaling the afternoon. The towers of white and gold that extend to the heavens from the churches and temples bear resemblance to an odd yet harmonious combination of human and elven architecture styles that make this city ceaselessly beautiful in the eyes of the young noble as the carriage passes on, or at least it was ceaselessly beautiful, but with the time and maturity and age. Alistair has grown used to the sight, so much so it utterly bores him as he watches the people dawdle about in their daily routine on the brick road streets. His father sat in opposition to him in the carriage, flipping through a ledger with wrinkled skin and bags underneath his eyes that could be attributed to the countless days of counting numbers, or the hardships of a long life, perhaps both. His long gray hairs have been lazily pushed aside while his clothing looks of fine white silk. It remains barely buttoned. In contrast, Alistair's style clothing is well buttoned, his blonde hair finely groomed and combed a dozen times by the servants, ensuring each strand of hair is independent of one another as it flows to his neck. His crisp blue eyes possess neither a wrinkle nor a bag anywhere. But both nobles share the same sharp features that would most likely have made the elder one quite an attractive man in his youth, much like his son. As the wagon tilts over an uneven brick, a strand of hair falls over the two nobles' face. Alistair casually brushes it aside with an easy stroke while the elder sweeps his hand over his face. The carriage stops before a temple of tremendous size with bricks as white as the ivory towers and two statues of a winged knight holding their spear to the sky guards, the wooden door leading into the temple. On the stairs below, the statue stands two very real men in white garbs carrying silver spears. The driver of the carriage leaves his seat and opens the door for his passenger, allowing them to step out. The elder noble closes his ledger and wraps it around his arm, then moves stiffly out of the carriage, while the younger one nonchalantly steps out, paying no mind to his surroundings before they head up the stairs. The door of the temple opens, and a man who looks to be around the same age as the elder noble approaches him in a loose, priestly-looking robe with a black shoulder cape bearing a golden sigil and much shorter hair, and a bald spot over the top. His face, as opposed to the two nobles, is rather smooth and soft-looking, with a much more gentle and relaxed-looking eyes, filled in a nice deep brown color. The elder noble approaches the man with joy, but even his happiness seems weighted down by the priest. While the priest is all too happy to see an old friend, they embrace wholeheartedly. The priestly man speaks first in a calm and firm voice that would match his gentle exterior, but also commands an air of authority and wisdom. "Alden, it is good to see you, my friend." "You as well, Ilarion," the elder noble replies with a slower, rougher voice full of pause and breath in between his words. Ilarion turns to the young noble and shakes his hand, then gives him a light tap on the shoulder. "Good to see you, Alistair." Alistair smiles formally and bows. "You as well, Grandmaster Ilarion." The three men proceed into the temple through the great door, and Ilarion announces with some hesitation, "Ambassador Cornolith is back again." Alistair looks up with intrigue as his ears flutter about, focusing his attention on the conversation between the two older gentlemen. Alden's normal, tired expression grows even more exasperated. His brows furrow and his usual face drops even more with a mixture of disappointment and hostility. "What does he want this time?" he asks with an edge to his voice. "What do you think?" "Same as his previous visits," the Grand Master replies. "I thought we made our opinion on the matter clear." Ilarion lets out a quiet sigh, holding back some displeasure against his friend before answering. "Yes, you did, but let us hear what he has to say first, yes?" Alden responds with a low grunt, but proceeds onwards. They stand inside the great circular hall with smooth white columns and statues of the divinities spread out across the room, with the goddess at its center. Men and women in white garbs and similar priestly-looking robe wanders the hall, conducting their daily conversation before heading towards their destination. The three men move up a flight of stairs at the end of the hall until they reach what appears to be the top floor and walks past a large courtyard with hundreds of these men and women in the same white garb, engaging in different martial arts skills, training from swordsmanship to archery and even to hand-to-hand. At the end of the hall, the three men stop before a door, and the Grand Master takes a deep breath before entering. He pushes open the door and steps into a balcony lit with candles at the corner, and 3 luxurious cushioned seats with a golden frame await them at the center. Each of the 3 men take a seat, and Ilarion looks out to the oval hall beyond his balcony. At the others on the walls, and a few already carries a person or two, but some remain vacant. As a few more minutes passes and the balconies begin filling up with the elderly men in other formal and luxurious garments, then finally the door opposite of the balcony on the far side of the room opens. 2 guards enter and move to the side, allowing the 3rd man behind them to step forward to the center of the room. The gentleman appear of elderly age, like the others, gathered here, and his face is just as rugged with a clean beard over his chin, and the figure matching that of a veteran soldier or a knight adorned in the blue and purple suit of the nobilities. Jewelry sits on his neck, and fingers as well as a deep azure cloak of linen around his back, bearing the sigil of a paired griffin over a shield. He stops at the center with his head raised, gazing across the hall at the elders on the balconies. The stomps of his black leather boots echo, drawing their attention. Once all the balconies are filled, Grandmaster Ilarion lifts himself off his chair with great effort and steps to the edge of the balcony, resting his hand on the rims. His voice booms across the oval hall, pulling the attention of the elders away from their guest and unto himself. Gentlemen of the council, we are gathered here today on the petition of Ambassador Cornolith Eisen, representing the interest of Queen Silrenius Aeolus, Primos Orsenera of Dallas Tai, capital of the Eastern Human Kingdoms. Representing the voice of the council in matters of military concerns, I am Grandmaster Ilarion de Caminis, chosen to represent the order. As Lord Ilarion continues the introduction, neither the council nor the ambassador pays any attention. Some even impatiently tap their feet loudly, waiting for the Grandmaster to finish his spiel. Ambassador Cornolith, you now have the floor, Ilarion announces, and takes his seat, trying to catch his breath. Cornolith takes a step forward to address the council. Councilmen of Idris, Grandmaster Ilarion, I come to you again to request the same matter as I did the week before. The Queen requires your help now more than ever. Never before had a threat rise and spread so rapidly that the Queen would call upon every arm of Valaris, yet here I am, pleading again for you to send your legions forward to the battlefield and meet the vile threat that the Vizians pose to the kingdoms of man. Your capital, your sovereign leader, please for your help. As Cornolith speaks, his voice grows and strikes Alistair at the core, even though the young noble has heard the ambassador's pleas many times before. The words of the noble never fail to reach him as his fingers tighten around his armrest. He gazes over to his father, who stares at the floor, supporting his head with his arm and his eyelids struggling to remain open. The Vizians advance deeper into our territories daily, forcing men, women, children from their homes, and that is not even mentioning the cruelty they inflict upon their own people. Famine, slavery, atrocities. Mere words cannot describe that which run rampant in their walls. I come to beg of you to assist us in our hours of need. The Grandmaster maintains focus on the ambassador as he speaks, but periodically turns to his old friend with a quick glance. He feels slightly miffed as he watches the elder noble fidget with his fingers like a child, but regardless, he turns back to Cornolith. When the ambassador finishes his final words, the Grandmaster stands back up, approaches the edge. With a heavy sigh, the elderly Grandmaster freezes his face in stone and replies with such cold sharpness that it almost stings Alistair. Lord Ambassador, thank you for your heartfelt plea, and we understand your plight, truly. He pauses and raises his hand, gesturing towards the council members who nod in agreement. Without a doubt, we will continue to aid the capital in their effort by providing them resources, but we cannot march to aid Dallas Tai in battle. Last I recall, we do not owe our allegiance to Valaris. Our loyalty is to the pontiff and the goddess who reigns over all life, not Queen Silrenius. Idris has neither recognized her as our sovereign rule, nor will we ever. The ambassador grinds his teeth and takes a moment to calm himself before responding. Grandmaster Ilarion, Council of Idris, I and the Queen appreciate whatever resources you provided us to relieve our refugees, but we need soldiers. The more defeat we suffer, the more resources of yours we will need to shelter additional displaced people. We need to drive the Vizians out of our land. Ambassador, I will inform you as I previously did, Idris has no military and never will. We hunt demons, not Vizians. We are priests and exorcists, not soldiers. Alistair grunts quietly with frustration as the Grand Master continues. More importantly, this war will not be occurring in the first place if the Queen did not keep provoking the regime by smuggling their laborers out of Kaldazar. Cornelius stomps his foot and points a finger at Illyrian. They are not laborers, they are slaves, and you call yourselves priests, but you turn a blind eye to the ones who need your help the most. The Grand Master sighs loudly and looks down on the ambassador. Please keep yourself civil, ambassador. You are embarrassing yourself. The ambassador appears steaming but closes his eyes until he is calm again and then replies, We all recognize that slavery is an abhorrent construct. Her Majesty is blameless, which is more than I could say for the rest of you. You, who expect the protection of Dallas Ty and Her Majesty, but when the Queen calls upon you, you ignore her call and dare to proclaim that you owe nothing to her, even though you live on her land tax-free. If the capital falls, the Vizians will attack Idris, whether you are soldiers or priests. They will raise your ivory towers to the ground regardless. Ambassador, is it the end of your petition? Illyrian asked dismissively, as if he heard not a word of what Cornelius just said. Yes, Grand Master, he concedes begrudgingly. Very well. All in favor of marching our priests and exorcists to Dallas Ty? Illyrian asks. Nearly half the room calls aye. All against? But the nays still overwhelm the rest. The nays have it, the Grand Master announces. Cornelius stares furiously at the council above, and Illyrian meets his look while offering his parting words. "'Tis a shame, Ambassador. We would hate to see the capital fall, so best get home quick and tell the Queen to shore up her defenses rather than waste your time here." Cornelius turns away with his cloak fluttering, stomping out of the oval room. The two guards leave behind him, closing the large doors, and the elders of the council simultaneously dissolve from their chairs and begin exiting their balconies. Illyrian's face melts back to his usual disposition, one of a tired but humble old man with weary eyes, slumped shoulders. He mutters, "Gods, the Queen will kill us after she is done with the Vizians." Alden stands up with barely a pause. "Glad we are done with that sordid affair. A waste of time that could be better spent elsewhere," he remarks. Illyrian and Alistair both appear visibly annoyed at Alden as he makes his exit. The two follows, and the Grand Master takes his place beside the elder noble once again, looking at his detached eyes as if it looks ahead while his head wanders away to some faraway thought. "Alden, I'm not sure how long I can keep Cornelius at bay. He will not give up that easily, and he is certain to plead his case before the council again next week. Support for him will grow with each passing day, and almost half the council is behind him." He looks at his friend, who does not seem to even be listening, but the Grand Master decides to persist anyway. "Too many reports about Dallas Ty's defeat flies through my desk, just as much about the refugees." "I understand, Illyrian, and I sympathize," Alden says, although his tone seems to contradict his words. "I have seen the reports as well, but this is not our war to fight." "I still find it disturbing. How could the Vizians win in an open combat with such overwhelming success?" He awaits an answer. But much to disappointment, the elder noble remains quiet. "The Vizians are not demons. Idris cannot be a part of this conflict," Alden says with finality. "No, but Cornelius is right. The Vizians see us as part of Valerians, vows or not. If the capital falls, they will march upon our gates." "If the capital falls," Alden emphasizes, "the Vizians might have claimed victories in open battle, but they do not have the number or the power to lay siege to a city, much less one as well fortified as Dallas Ty." "The Vizians should not be winning so many battles in the first place," the Grand Master insists with a sharp tone while stroking his chin thoughtfully. "I sense that there is something amiss." "It matters not, Illyrian. I will not change my mind on this matter. If you march your men against the Vizians, then the Order will lose my financial support. It is easy as that." "I know, Alden. I just wish you could see this with some objectivity rather—" "Illyrian, please do as I ask." The Grand Master stops, stares into his old friend's eyes, knowing too well that he will not budge. He nods in defeat. "Of course, I will speak to the others and see if I could sway them." The Grand Master bows to the elder noble, nods to the younger, before walking away in grim silence. Alistair stares longingly into Ilarion as he departs, and the two men proceed down the stairway to the door of the temple. Frustration finally bites too deep into his chest, and mustering up as much civility as he could, the young noble protests. Father, you cannot keep forcing Grandmaster Ilarion to lie to the Ambassador Cornolith. Every time he mutters those lies you whisper in his ear, I can feel that he is conflicted, knowing that the ambassador is right. Alden stops, stares at his son with dull, unchanging eyes. I whispered no lies in his ear. Alistair stares back in disbelief. Father, I live in Idris. We just walked past a courtyard full of soldiers in training. I do not want to have this discussion with you, Alistair. You understand why I do not want Idris involved in this conflict. And he turns and walks away. I truly do not, Father. I feel like your action is a greater insult to Edlenth. The elder noble immediately stops, turns, points his finger at his son. You do not speak about your brother, he explodes. The younger noble realizes his mistake and steps back, nodding. Yes, Father, my apologies. He watches his father's eyes grow dim again, slumps back to a still, calm demeanor before continuing. They need our help. There's always someone in the world who needs help. We can't help all of them. Alden continues down the stairs with Alistair following quickly behind. Even if we cannot help everyone, we can help Dallas Ty and their refugees. I understand. We are helping. We gave the capital whatever we could spare. It is up to them how they use it. Except we are withholding one of the most powerful military forces in the kingdom. They are exorcists, not soldiers. Mere exorcists are not trained in fighting with swords and bows. Once they finish their descent from the stairs and back to the lobby of the temple, Alden turns to his son. Head home, Alistair. I still have work to do. He waves his son away dismissively, and the young noble, unable to defy his father, nods and departs. Alistair exits the temple and moves down the stairs as the carriage rolls up before him on the stone road. Home, please, he tells the driver, climbing in. He sits on the soft velvet seat as the carriage begins to move, rocking and tilting on the road as they pass the ivory towers. Alistair looks out the window with idle eyes until halfway home. The carriage abruptly stops. The young noble sticks his head out the window and looks ahead. He sees two men in silver-colored armor bearing blue shoulder cape of a familiar sigil. Then young noble, stepping out cautiously, asks, "What is the meaning of this?" Are you Lord Alistair Preston Carlyle? I am, he replies, and inspects the sigil on the guard's cape. I take it that you are the ambassador's escorts? Yes, he has requested to see you, Lord Alistair. The young noble considers his response carefully. It is obvious what the ambassador would want from him, and he can easily refuse, and yet he sympathizes with the Cornolith's cause. There is little to lose in hearing him out, at the very least. He nods and replies, Very well, bring him to me. The guards lead Alistair to another carriage parked nearby. A fine one of black wood with the sigil of the capital painted on the side and almost twice the length of his own. A guard opens the door and Alistair steps into the luxurious interior with even a small table in the middle. On one side sits the ambassador, enjoying his pipe. Upon seeing the young Carlyle, he gestures for him to enter. Come, Lord Alistair. Here, take a seat. He points him to the seat opposite of him. Alistair nods and cautiously takes a seat, his muscle feeling tense and his fingers clinging together. He tries to appear at ease as he leans back and places his foot flat on the carriage's floor. It was not his first direct meeting with fellow nobilities, yet this man who has the ear of the queen. A taste? Cornolith lifts the pipe, but Alistair shakes his head. The pipe returns to the ambassador's lips and he begins. A formal introduction is in order. Lord Alistair, I am Cornolith von Eisen, ambassador to the Queen of Dallas Ty, sovereign of Valeris. I have heard much about you. Really? What have you heard, ambassador? You are brilliant, dash like the Carlyle before you. Alistair forces a smile. I am flattered. He smiles back. Yes, your father has groomed you well to be a successor. Well, thank you, ambassador. Again, I'm flattered. Yes, the Carlyle name carries quite the influence, even beyond Idris. Did you know that? I have some awareness, through the extent of its influence eludes me to some extent. It is quite far, I assure you. Even the Queen herself knows the Carlyle family well. After all, your history goes further than that of even the Queen's own bloodline. At least on this land, anyway. Alistair raises an eyebrow, feeling genuinely surprised. Truly. This is the first I've heard of it. Indeed, your blood is an old one. Older than even the capital. I know that our old blood is old, but I never realized. Yes, the Carlyle name has always been a source of major influence. It is only within the last few generations that your family has decided to take on a more reserved role in politics and economics. I think it was your great-grandfather who relinquished any political ambition in favor of financial ones. Not a bad idea. The gold you have means the voice in the court, but if a situation turns sour, your name will not be the one to blame. The same still applies here, especially considering your family owes the majority of the land around Idris. The soils on the east and the silver in the south, one essential for the maintenance of the city population, and the other essential to maintaining the demon-hunting forces of the Order. But at the same time, your family has seen better days, has it not? What do you mean, Ambassador? The influence of the Carlyle family, while it still exists, has dwindled from the capital. Your family has not raised their voice there in decades, and pardon if I offend, but your mother died of illness and your brother's death is untimely. You and your father are the only ones that remain. If he was to pass, you would be the last of your name. Alistair's expression dims. Yes, I am aware. Your father, is he well? He is, Ambassador, Alistair replies with restraint. Are you certain? Your mother's death must have taken quite a toll on your father, and now your brother too? I recall that his decision to join in the Dallas Thai military was not one your father condoned. For him to be slain by the Vizians, it must have been hard, and yet your father does not seem keen on avenging him. The young Carlyle turns away and subtly clears his throat before replying. I do question my father's decisions at times, but I am confident in his ability to do the right thing. As his son, all I can do is trust in his judgment. That is admirable, but you are not a boy anymore, Lord Alistair. We must make our own choices in life and decide what is best for ourselves and our family. I think we can all agree that it would be a shame if the Carlyle family was to fall out of favor with the Queen and fades into the pages of history, but alas, your father has decided. Well, in any case, thank you for coming to see me, Lord Alistair. I know you have no need to hear me out. I am glad you did anyway. My apologies for holding you from your day. No, it's all right. I thank you for this opportunity, Ambassador. I've learned a great deal. Cornwall nods his head approvingly. Take care of yourself, Lord Alistair. You as well, the young Carlyle replies as he exits the carriage. Uncertainty and doubt gnaw at him, but he returns to his own and slumps into the seats with low shoulders. He looks out the window, wearing a disheartened gaze as he begins to move onward towards home. The carriage returns by the time the sun has begun to set. He steps out and stares at the quiet and tranquil ground of the Carlyle estate, looking at the fields of grasses and hedges that surround a tall white brick and cherry-red tiled mansion. The home is boring in shape, and the shape is plain, like a simple rectangle, but it's practical, and easy to navigate hallways are better than most of the more complex-styled buildings in Idris. He steps before the mansion where two servants greet him, with a bow, and he returns to the greeting in kind before entering. He steps past the orange and ruby red painted walls with white wooden frames and the curtains of silk flowing down from a large window. He moves up one of a pair of curvature stairs to the second floor that surrounds the center wall, where a beautiful painting of Alistair's mother is hung, then approaches the wooden door at the very top. Father? He calls as he knocks on the door. After a few moments, no reply. He pushes the door open, revealing a vast study covered in a red carpet with shelves of thick tomes and documents lined up in aisles at the side. A wooden U-shaped desk buried in parchments, inkwells, and feathered pens sits directly at the door, along with a luxurious chair. He stares from window to window on the wall that leads to the sprawling garden that surrounds the estate, then takes a step into the study. Something crumples underneath his foot. and he bends down to retrieve it. An unmarked letter? Alistair stares at the unmarked seal, and then walks back outside to one of his servants. Did anybody drop off a letter for my father today? The servant looks back puzzled. He replies, No, my lord. Any guess? No guess either, my lord. Strange. Alistair returns to the study. He approaches the desk and takes a letter opener, cutting the seal and opening the parchment within. His eyes scan the letter, and his expression grows increasingly distressed, and it becomes confusion and anger. The door of the manor opens, and Alistair steps out of the study, looking at his father's approach. Alden sees his son waiting for him with the study door open and asks him in a curious tone, Alistair, what are you doing in my study? I was looking for you, he replies, looking aloof. Yes, I see. My apologies for the delay. Alden walks past his son and enters his study in a leisurely manner. The young Carlyle follows behind his father and closes the door as the elder stops onto his chair like a rock. Damn these bones. The elder rubs his shoulder and leans back, looking up at his son. Alistair calmly puts the letter on the desk before his father and asks, What is this? Raising an eyebrow, Alden picks up the letter. After he finishes reading, he lets out a heavy sigh and answers, It is none of your concern, Alistair. The young Carlyle ignores his father's words and pushes on. Are you withholding Iris's troops to help the Vizians? You understand nothing of what you are saying. You should not be opening my letters in the first place, boy, Alden replies as one would scold a child. Do not speak to me like I'm a child, father. I plead with you to please explain this to me. Are you a traitor? I do not expect you to Damn it, don't treat me like a child. I defended you when others called you a coward and a tottering old man, but you are worse than a tottering old man. You betray Edlin's memories. Alden lifts himself off his seat and his chair falls to the ground. I told you before, do not speak of your... I don't give a damn. If you did not betray us, then explain yourself. Give me a reason to stand by you. You understand absolutely nothing. Everything I do, I am doing for you, Alistair. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Alistair slams his fist against the table. You forced Grandmaster Illyrian to lie for me? You disgraced Edlin's memory for me? You are letting people and the capital fall for me? Yes, I am! Alden shouts in his reply. Alistair steps back in disbelief. His body tenses up and he glares at his father with malice. I do not need your help, much less one bought with the blood of others, father. Damn it, Alistair. I would be happy to let the world burn if it means keeping you safe. I was helpless with your mother and Edlin, but I would be damned if I let the gods take you as well. I will do whatever it takes to protect you. None of the fortune I possessed found a cure for your mother, and none of it protected your brother. Titles and gold be damned. I would be more happy to take on any sins if it means protecting you. Give me the letter, Alistair says with open hands. And then what? I'm handing it over to Grandmaster Illyrian, and I'm going to give you up as the traitor that you are. You would betray me, Alistair. The man who gave you your whole life. You damned fool. You would disgrace the Carlyle name by doing so. I will rot in jail, and you will lose the rights to all your inheritance. You will be nothing. Do you think that you can threaten me with your own damned titles and fortunes? I do not need any of it more than you do. Because you're a naive fool. Do you think that you can make your own way in this world? You will not just lose everything. People will see you as a traitor as I. They will shun you, and you will be nothing. You need me and my fortune and my name. Without it, you are nothing. All of your righteousness, all of your pride, it is all mine. Alden throws the letter before Alistair. So do it then. Take it. Hand it over to Illyrian and witness your own fall. Any ambition, hopes or dreams you may have had will die with me, Alistair. Alistair reaches down and picks up the letter. He stares at his own father in judgment and replies, Did you ever think about why Edlin left? I don't care. Never did. But I will not hand you over to Grandmaster Illyrian either. Instead, I will do one thing that will hurt you more than anything else. The young noble turns, walks away, heading toward the door. The elder Carlyle regrets his words with wide-eyed gaze and rushes to his son. Wait, Alistair! What are you going to do? To the capital, I will enlist myself into the army. You damn fool, Alden screams at his son's back. He grabs Alistair's wrist, and the young man shakes his father's hand off, pushing him to the floor. You cannot stop me. I would rather be killed by a Vizian despite you. At least then I can die guilt-free, knowing I tried to honor Edlin's memory. You will not defy me. I will not lose my last son like this. Alden pulls a short sword from his desk. Even they will not take a cripple. The elder Carlisle charges his son with sword raised. You have gone insane, Alistair yells and grabs Alden's wrist, holding the sword back. He shoves his father and slams him against the desk, his old man falling to the ground in silence. The young Carlisle stares at the blood flowing down the desk and his father's skull. But the elder noble remains alive, just barely conscious with muddled vision. Alistair kneels beside his father, panting with exhaustion. Alden's body slumps against the floor, and he raises a fragile old hand to his son's face. I cannot... This is now how it ends with Lord Alden. Lord Alistair, are you all right, my lord? You can hear through the door. The young Carlisle hears with the footsteps approaching from the hall outside. You are right. If I hand you over, I will be shunned. I will lose everything. I will be nothing. Instead, I will take it all then, your titles and your fortunes. I will avenge Eldon. I will honor his memory, and I will do right by our family name, even if you will not. Alistair's fingers gently rise to Alden's neck. He presses his skin tightly against his father's and squeezes. Alden's eyes almost pop out as he gasps for breath. His hand claws at his son in vain until it falls limp beside him only inches away. Alistair stands up, blocking out the noise in the hall. Opens a bottle of liquor by the bookcase and pours half the bottle into Alden's mouth before placing it into his father's hand. He takes the sword, returns it to the sheath beneath the desk, then screams, "Help!" and allows the servants to enter. Lord Alden, are you all right? The servants burst in, and the young Carlisle backs away and stands there with a vacant stare as they attempt fruitlessly to awaken Alden. He holds the letter in his hand and tucks it tightly into his jacket before closing his eyes, and sits on the floor with his head buried